Hello there, good morning to you. Welcome. This is Newsroom here on GHOne Television. My name is Lantam, Papanko. Let's take a look at the headlines making the bulletin this morning. And coming up on Newsroom, private legal practitioner Justice Abdulai has sued the Attorney General and the police service over the appointment of a deputy IGP in charge of operations. Also ahead in the bulletin, the Attorney General describes the court's decision to acquit and discharged Kisiel Ato Forson and Richard Jakpa as erroneous, while the opposition NDC says the decision reposes confidence in the judiciary. But how will this play out, as the Attorney General has hinted of an appeal to reverse the court's decision? We'll find out shortly. In Parliament, the minority has charged President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to sign the Affirmative Action Bill, which has been passed into law, to become an act. Well, in business, motorists to enjoy a reduction at the fuel pumps, as the IES is hinting of a reduction in fuel prices by the oil marketing companies. And later on the international front, we'll take you to our neighbors, Nigeria, where there are plans of days of rage over mountain hardships in the country. We've got details of all of these stories and more making the Newsroom Bulletin this morning. Do stay tuned. Thank you very much once again for joining us. The Bulletin is streaming live on Facebook. You can also connect with us on our other social media platforms, on YouTube at GHOne TV, and of course, it's the same handle across Facebook, Instagram, and X. Now, a private legal practitioner, Justice Abdulai, has filed a lawsuit against the Attorney General and the Ghana Police Service over the recent appointment of a Deputy Inspector General in charge of operations by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He recently appointed a Commissioner of Police, Christian Tete GHOne, as Deputy IGP in charge of operations. In a writ dated 30th July, Mr. Abdulai indicates that the appointment of COP GHOne is unconstitutional, null and void. He's also seeking an order restraining COP Christian Tete GHOne from acting or purporting to act as the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. A further order restraining the Inspector General of Police or any command under him from accepting, relating to, and or issuing instructions or commands to COP Mr. Christian Tete GHOne is assumed in his assumed capacity as Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. Now, Justice Abdulai, the man who has filed this suit in court, is joining us via Zoom for a conversation on this and the reasons why he believes that this appointment is erroneous. Justice Abdulai, thank you very much for joining us here on Newsroom. You're welcome to the Bulletin. Why do you believe that the President's appointment of COP Tete GHOne as a Deputy IGP in charge of operations is erroneous?
Thank you. So, this is it. We have laws regulating the police service, and this law is clear as to the ranks and the hierarchy of the police administration. And so you have the IG, the commissioners, and then all the other portfolios follow down. And this is clearly stated under the Police Services Act. The Police Services, of course, Act takes its root from the Constitution. The Constitution only mentions the IG. And so naturally, the Act details out other things. Then somehow we had a CI which created the Deputy IG. Now, granted that we would want to even accept a CI to create that big portfolio rather than the Act itself creating it, or even the Constitution creating it. A CI created this position. So if you want to even accept it, that's fine. However, what the CI did was to create a deputy IGP. A deputy IGP. Simpliciter. it does not leave room for deputies. It does not leave room for a deputy with specific instructions. In fact, the CI actually details out the functions of the deputy IG. But what the president has done is to create a portfolio that does not exist in the law. It doesn't exist in the Constitution. It doesn't exist in the Police Services Act. It doesn't exist even in the CI that created the deputy. The scary part is that because of what the president has created, chances are that other deputies could even be created out of that. So the whole idea of this suit is to declare as null the appointment as made, and if the president so wishes, to simply name COP GHOne as a deputy IGP. I think that that is easier to accept, at least on the grounds of the CI that created that office, than creating an office and giving it additional, creating additional offices which doesn't exist and unknown to the law. This is the whole essence of this suit.
Right, but also,
is to avoid abuses and multiplicity of deputies.
Okay, so you're saying in essence that once it is an appointment of a deputy IGP in charge of operations, because operations has been attached, then it leaves room for the possibility of there to be other appointments made, and you believe that that is contrary to
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
the act.
That is just one angle of it. The other angle is the fact that there is nothing like a deputy in charge of operations. That is not known to the law.
But
what is known to at least the CI, which is a subsidiary, is a deputy IGP.
Right.
Simpliciter.
But doesn't the fact that the title begins with deputy IGP, does it matter whether or not it's deputy IGP in charge of operations or in charge of administration or anything of the sort? Because if you look, at the laws or the statutes that we have, I mean, there is that opportunity. It's provided for there to be a deputy IGP. So he still has the title of deputy IGP. Does that not suffice?
That's the whole point I am making, that if the president wanted to create a deputy IGP, there wouldn't be a difficulty with that.
Right.
We probably would accept it on the grounds of the CI that created it. But the moment you go beyond the CI and create additional offices that do not exist, first, because the office that has been created for the deputy IG doesn't even exist in itself. So, which is why I hinted to the possibility of, for instance, another deputy IG coming with a different portfolio. Yet the CI that created that office can only admit of one deputy. But with this new portfolio, we can admit of multiple deputy IGs coming up. And wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow you find several other deputies being appointed, one in charge of administration, one in charge of finance, one in charge of human resources, one in charge of welfare, one in charge of all kinds of things. How would you question those ones?
Right. So so the reliefs you are seeking in court, you want the appointment of COP GHOne to be declared null and void because it is deputy IGP in charge of operations. Is there anything else you are looking for?
I think that makes it a bit personal, but that's not the essence.
Right. So what's the essence?
The whole essence is to declare a deputy in charge of operations null and void.
Right.
And in this place, if the Supreme Court would want to substitute that, or the government would want to substitute that and simply name COP GHOne as a deputy IGP, I think that would be something fantastic. Mind you, let's all know that the only reason why people are interested in this matter is because of the man GHOne, because he's admired, he's loved, he's appreciated, and he's touted as one of the best police officers in Ghana.
Right.
So his appointment is not really an issue for anyone, but the portfolio that he has been given is what people, in fact, is what does not accord with the Constitution and indeed the Police Service Act, which is why all these questions are coming up.
All right. So have you averted your mind to a provision, in our statutes? I go to about part 3, which talks about the police council. And I go to section 13, and it says protection from legal proceedings. If, with your permission, I read, it says, the chairman and any other member of the police council shall have the same protection and privilege in case of any action or suit brought against him for any act done or omitted to be done in exercise of his duties in relation to the hearing of appeals under Section 20 of this Act, as is by law given to acts done or were spoken by a judge of a superior court of judicature in the exercise of his judicial office. Does this in any way apply to the suits that you are filing, or can it prevent you? Do you envision that it can prevent you or it can stop you from filing a suit against COP Tete Yohonu since he is a member of the police council?
Absolutely not. It doesn't in any way address that issue at all. Indeed, what you are talking about is purely an issue dealing with the police council. But
right.
This suit is not against the police council.
Right.
This suit is against the police service itself.
Right.
Not the police council.
Okay.
And so, and it's not against individuals. And that is why COP Yohonu is not a defendant in this suit.
Right.
So it's purely directed at the police administration. And the police administration is capable of defending themselves in any suit brought against them.
All right.
And indeed, it's not the first time the police administration has been sued. So, yes, to that extent, yes, these are not applied to them at all.
All right. Very well. Justice Abdulai, we'll leave the conversation here. We're grateful that you've spoken to us here on Newsroom.
Absolutely. For God and country always.
That's right. Justice Abdulai there, he's a private legal practitioner, and he has filed a suit against the Attorney General and, of course, the Ghana Police Service concerning the appointment of COP Yohonu as Deputy IGP in charge of operations. Now, the Attorney General Godfrey Adame's notice to file a reversal of the appeals court's decision to acquit Minority Leader Dr. Kesela Forson and businessman Richard Jakpa has been criticized. Yesterday, the Attorney General in a statement described the acquittal as grossly unfair to the nation and inimical to the fight against impunity and abuse of public office. Now, yesterday, a panel of 3 in a 2-1 majority decision said Justice Ifiasewa Asariboche's earlier ruling on submission of no case for the accused to open their defense was in error. Richard Jakpa spoke to GHOne TV shortly after that decision by the Court of Appeal.
I've been vindicated by the ruling of the appeal court. I've always said that I'm an innocent man and I'm being persecuted for political reasons. And the Court of Appeal has vindicated me on that stand that I've always been saying. He's Attorney General. He can go to the Supreme Court, and even after the Supreme Court ruling, he can still go for review if he so pleases. It's a legal process. And I'm a combatant. I'm a warrior. I'm ready for every battle. So if you want to go to the Supreme Court, I'll meet him there.
Now, the Director of Legal Affairs for the NDC, GHOne Tamaklo, has described the Court of Appeal's acquittal as one that reposes confidence in the judiciary. He's also repeated calls for the resignation of the Attorney General. He spoke earlier on Star FM.
How do you take this Attorney General serious? This is an Attorney General who goes to the point of conspiring, causing an accused person to implicate a fellow accused person, and you want to take him serious? It is rather his conduct that is inimical to the practice of law and the legal profession in this country. Grateful. I am surprised that he's still holding the office of the Attorney General. If he has the any singular of honor left in him, he should be resigning. This Attorney General is a regime Attorney General. He's not an Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. He shouldn't bring himself. He shouldn't. What the judges have done is to restore public confidence in the work of the court, more than everything that he has done as an Attorney General of this Republic.
Now, the Attorney General Godfrey Adame, in a statement shortly after the judgment, as we know, called the judgment decision or the decision of the Court of Appeal erroneous, adding that his office will promptly file an appeal in order to erase the effect of the erroneous decision, by the Court of Appeal. So joining us via Zoom to talk about this is a lawyer and former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansa Asare. Mr. Ansa Asare, good morning. Welcome to Newsroom here on GHOne TV. We're very grateful for your time. Are you surprised by the Court of Appeal's decision? Is anything wrong with it?
Good afternoon. Good
Hello, Mr.
afternoon.
Ansah. Sorry, if you can hear me. I'm asking whether or not you were surprised by the Court of Appeal's decision. Okay, I can't seem to hear lawyer Ansah Asare on the line. He's a former director of the Ghana School of Law. We want to speak to him so that he'll help us understand, what this ruling really means, and of course, get his reaction to some of the commentary that has been run in the aftermath of this decision. Mr. Ansah, if you can hear me, welcome to the bulletin. Okay, there still seems to be a problem with regard to this particular call that we wanted to place to Mr. Ansah Asare there. But if we take a look at the Attorney General's press release and how he described the decision of the Supreme Court, I'll just retrieve it and read a little bit of it for you so that you can understand exactly where the Attorney General is coming from with regard to the decision of the Court of Appeal and why he believes that it's erroneous and it should not be something that should be allowed to stand. It says the Office of the Attorney General considered the decision of the Court of Appeal to be perverse in the quest for public accountability and the rule of law. And he says the decision is heavily against the weight of the cogent evidence led by the prosecution in substantiation of all the charges against the accused person at the trial. And he goes on further to say that the Office of the Attorney General considers the decision of the Court of Appeal grossly unfair to the nation and inimical to the fight against impunity and abuse in public office. The office will promptly file an appeal in order to erase the effect of this erroneous decision of the Court of Appeal. You know that when the Court of Appeal makes a decision, the next line of action, if anyone wants to take that action, is at the Supreme Court, where the matter will finally rest. We'll work the line again and try and get the legal practitioner on the line so that we can speak to him as regards this. But moving on, the Ghana Police Service has arrested 5 persons in connection with a shooting incident that occurred in the early hours of Tuesday, 30th July 2024, leading to the death of 1 person and an injury to a police officer at Okanta near Nsawam in the Eastern Region. The incident occurred when some police officers from the Eastern South Regional Police Headquarters in the company of complainant Daniel Dosu were ambushed by an unknown assailant while on their way to effect an arrest at Okanta. According to the police, an intelligence-led operation following the attack led to the arrest of the prime suspect, Daniel Kwe, who was later identified as one of the suspects the deceased complainant was leading the police to arrest. Further police investigations led to the arrest of the 4 other suspects, Anum Joseph, Joshua Abuaji, Kwesi Akwe, and Akwe Samuel, and also the retrieval of the weapon used by the suspect, Daniel Kwe. The body of the deceased has since been deposited at the police hospital morgue for preservation and autopsy, while the injured police officer has been treated and discharged from the hospital. Now, Parliament has finally passed the Affirmative Action Bill after years of unsuccessful attempts. The bill, which aims to empower women, offers them places at the decision-making tables and addresses all forms of gender-based discrimination, as has been in the works for years. Now, President Akufo-Addo had to apologize for failing to make a decision to pass it during his first term as promised. Now, after heated arguments on some clauses late Tuesday night, Parliament finally passed the long-awaited bill.
Duly read the 3rd time and Bill 2024, now Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act 2024, duly read the 3rd time and passed. So we've just started. Don't let's celebrate. and don't really put in place the vision that we have created for the country. But more importantly, I hope that members will commit themselves to the constitutional reforms. We need to do more there to be able to create this free and just society we are looking for, to liberate more of our women, to be able to support us, to be able to develop Mother Ghana. With this, I thank all of you for your support, and may the good Lord continue to bless Ghana.
Meanwhile, speaking to GHOne News after the passage, the Member of Parliament for the Ketu South constituency, Abdulai Gomashi, expressed relief, though she concedes that the legislation is not a solution to every problem that Ghanaian women face. Now, Jakpa Gomashi attributed the passage to the intervention from the former President Mahama, who, according to her, charged the Speaker to ensure that it was done before the House rose. Now, the former Deputy Minister for Creative Arts consequently urged President Akufo-Addo not to just sign this bill, but also address all outstanding bills with implications for women.
This has been in the pipeline for as long as I can remember. One parliament after the other, one government after the other. Everybody has chipped in a little bit, and today we can all just say, aha. I want to, before you ask your second question, I want to thank His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama for asking Mr. Speaker, or adding his voice to Mr. Speaker to make sure that this is passed in this sitting. If you remember, when he met you, the journalists, Nuong Falong asked this question about the affirmative action bill, and John Dramani Mahama answered that he has told Mr. Speaker to do it quickly and leave it as a legacy before the end of this sitting. So I'm very happy that it's been done. I'm sure that His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will sign this quickly. Hopefully he will sign all the other acts that are with him, bills that are with him.
Including
so
the
that
witchcraft bill.
all of that, don't just single this out, all of that affect us women, so you can't choose and pick which ones you want to take credit for. You must up your game and live up to expectation, Your Excellency. Sign the bills, sign the bills, sign the bills. Not just this one.
Well, the Member of Parliament for the Asokwa constituency, Patricia Apieje, also expressed joy over the passage of the affirmative action bill.
And if you look into the bill, you see that there are schedules of targets to meet. And the first one is the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, the attainment of that one. But ultimately, we are looking at the 2067 African goal, sustainable goal to achieve. And we are on that note, we are talking about equality. So we believe that if we want to move from 1 to 2, it should be a gradual process. So if we adopt an equality, the term equality, it may be very difficult to attain that kind of equality. But we believe there should be fairness, or there should be an attempt to close the imbalance that we experience with regards to the proportion of women and men serving in governance and economic activities, and also even in the private sector. I'm highly elated, I'm highly delighted to know that we have seen the day and the light is far shining on us as a country.
Well, private legal practitioner and gender advocate Amanda Clinton says she hopes this bill will enhance female participation in politics.
I support the affirmative action bill in terms of women's equality because I think overall it enhances the quality of life in Ghana. And just echoing what the Speaker of Parliament said, I think it was just yesterday, this is not just for women, but it's for Ghanaians in general and development. And, you know, I've been listening to the speakers before me, particularly in relation to, you know, girl power or girl programs, etc., which they have worked. And, you know, I have personally seen for myself, I think Ghana is even more advanced than some countries to some extent when it comes to women's rights. For instance, 13 years ago, I was at the Attorney General's Department, and, you know, I noticed over 85% of people at the Attorney General's Department were female. And that's a very powerful government department, and that precedent, I think, still stands in terms of the number of women. But this initiative is women holding significant positions in government, public life, and decision-making. And I do think it's important to put these things in law, because it's like reprogramming society until they get used to it. And it's also selecting women at the highest level. So I very much support it, and I definitely think that by 2030, we'll be having more than 50% of women in key decision-making roles, basically.
Now, if you're wondering what this affirmative action bill that has been passed is all about, here is my colleague, Nana Ama Aqua, giving us an explanation.
On Tuesday, July 30, 2024, the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Bill 2024 was finally passed for the President's assent. But I hear you asking, what exactly does that mean for you and me? Well, first off, the objective of the Act is to ensure the attainment of gender equity in the political, economic, educational and cultural spheres of society. The government has been tasked to use policies and programs to ratify and amend political, economic, educational and cultural gender imbalances in Ghana. Now, the bill has been in and out of Parliament for the last 13 years, but now it will give women full integration in terms of positions of authority, decision-making in the public service, and all mainstream spheres of development. So let me break this down a little bit for you. Gender equity in public service serves as an avenue for persons who feel they've suffered gender-based discrimination in any recruitment process, enabling them to be able to lodge a complaint with the committee. Now, when we move over to security services, a woman should not be subjected to discrimination regarding the recruitment and or oversight of job roles in all manners, especially leadership. When we look at the judiciary, there must be gender equity at all levels. Now, this is the same in Parliament, and there must be gender equity, especially regarding appointments. Now, when it comes to budgeting, it should be gender responsive, meaning there must be adequate resources allocated, no matter your gender. Regarding political parties, and this one will be of interest to you because we are moving into a political season, they must ensure that the equity standards set out in the bill are all adhered to. This also extends to the Electoral Commission, who must see to it that these standards are all adhered to. Now, in the private sector, there's expected to be gender equity policy, which is to be reviewed periodically at least every 4 years. So in essence, all elements of society are going to be affected by the passing of the Affirmative Action Bill. The bill also mentions the repercussions for those who disobey it. However, the main component of the bill is to protect women's rights and help them ascend corporate and political ladders without being hindered unnecessarily. Previously, there wasn't much one could do if they felt slighted due to their gender. But now, there is something in place to aid an increasing gender equity in Ghana. The bill, which consists of 34 clauses and 6 schedules, seeks equal representation and participation of both women and men in governance, public positions of power, and all decision-making processes of the state. Therefore, Ghana is officially working towards the 2030 target of 50-50.
Well, be reminded that this bulletin is streaming live on Facebook. And of course, you can connect with us on our social media pages, Facebook, X, and Instagram at GHOne TV. And of course, when you see what's at the bottom of the screen, you can scan the QR code and it will take you straight to our website to bring you more news. It's time now for the Election Hub. Flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has urged electorates not to vote for his main opponent in the December 7, 2024 general elections. According to him, Ghanaians must elect a president who will take the country into the future. The vice president, who was addressing voters in Avrongo, described the opposition leader as a second-hand president.
We are going to elect a new president in 2024. In December 2024. And when I say a new president, I mean a new president, not a second-hand president. I mean a new president. We are going to elect a president that will take us into the future, not a president that will take us back into the past. We are looking forward. We are not going backwards. We want a president who thinks about possibilities, not impossibilities. We want the Ghana to be a beacon for all African countries, for all the world to see what can be done with possibilities. Former President Mahama is a former president. Let us maintain him as a former president.
The governing New Patriotic Party has responded to the opposition NDC's flag bearer John Mahama's description of the NPP as a useless one. According to the NPP, it took the same useless NPP government to create the Savannah region, which he could not do despite calls from the people to have it done during his tenure as president. The NPP accused him of not initiating or completing any profound project in the 5 regions of the North during his tenure. Hence, he cannot say the governing party is useless. Here's Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Haruna Mohammed, speaking to GH1 News in Bolgatanga in the Upper East region.
John Mahama is one person who insulted the memory of the people of Ghana, that we have short memories. Lo and behold, it turns out that he is the person that has short memories. This is one person who has become a president of this republic before. Coming from the north, when he was president, we had 3 regions in the north. That was the northern region, the upper east region, and the upper west region. The people of the north, including the people of Savannah, were fighting and making requests to get a region. He could not do it as president when he had the constitutional power to insist and to create a region. He could not do it. It took a useless government, as he described, in quotes, to create a region for him in his own motherland, where he was born and birthed, and then he started his politics from. We created 2 regions out of the 3 northern regions to make it 5 northern regions. When he was the president of the Republic of Ghana, his works within the northern sector cannot be traced. He set up the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority. Not even a single project that we can trace within the Savannah enclave. The entire northern enclave, where it was described as the Savannah Development Authority, we can't trace even a single project. But today, we set up the Northern Development Authority. We have about 943 projects to our credit when it comes to the development of the northern sector. Secondly, when he came as a president, not even a single hospital was built in the land of the 5 northern regions. Today, when we came, we were able to complete the Eurojet projects. The Eurojet projects In the Upper East region, you look at the Upper East Regional Hospital, we completed that particular project. You go to the Upper West Regional Hospital, we completed that project. We completed the hospital project for Sola, we completed the hospital project for Bole, where he comes from. These are projects that we inherited in terms of the Eurojet project. We completed them.
Well, and that's it for the Election Hub stories on the newsroom. You're welcome back. This is Newsroom here on GHOne TV. Let's bring you business news now. The Institute of Energy Security, the IES, is forecasting a reduction in petroleum products at the oil marketing companies across the country in the first window of the month of August 2024. The reduction, according to the IES, is attributable to anticipated fall of favorable dynamics in the international fuel market, coupled with slow depreciation of the Ghana cedi in the month of July. Motorists are therefore, per the IES's prediction, expected to enjoy price falls between 2% and 4% in the coming days. So joining us via Zoom is energy analyst Dr. Shafiq Suleiman. He's a lecturer at the Institute of Oil and Gas Studies at the University of Cape Coast. He's joining us for a conversation on this. Doc, thank you very much for joining us here on the newsroom. What is your reaction to this prediction that is being made by the IES of a possible reduction by about 2 or 4% in the month of August when it comes to fuel prices?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I think it's a good call. As at 15 days ago, there's been a gradual decline in global crude oil prices. When we say global crude oil prices, we are talking about prices from key benchmarks. And the key benchmarks, we have WTI, that's West Texas Intermediate, and then we have Brent. Brent is the most traded crude, and Africa, Ghana, we are all benchmarked to Brent. So for the past few days, Brent has been decreasing in price. From about $84 to about $78. It means that in Ghana, our refined petroleum products are benchmarked. Pricing of the refined petroleum products are benchmarked to the Brent crude oil. And I think even though the exchange rate is the most predominant determinant factor for refined petroleum product prices in Ghana, crude oil or global crude oil prices also have close to 20% to 30% effect on the downstream prices of petroleum product prices in Ghana. So since we are seeing a reduction from $84 in the past 15 days to $78 in recent times, it means that there will be a very marginal decrease in refined petroleum product prices in Ghana, since we are hitting the first window from tomorrow. So we are expecting that the retail outlets would reduce based on what MPA and the automatic fuel price adjustment formula would give out tomorrow. But then it's so relevant to still reflect on the fact that refined petroleum products in Ghana are hinged on the exchange rates, and that's actually the main focus. It means that anytime there's an appreciation in the dollar against the cedi, refined petroleum products are going to keep going high, and not until we are able to get a better exchange rate, we are able to get a reduction in the cedi to dollar exchange rate. Refined petroleum products are still going to be the way they are. And mind you, they are very expensive. I can assure you, refined petroleum products in Ghana are extremely expensive. You can be talking about relative compared to other countries or other neighboring countries, and you may think that ours is a little bit cheap. But in terms of our purchasing power parity in Ghana and workers' microeconomy and effect of it, petrol is extremely expensive and it's actually affecting a lot of us, including myself and you. So I think relatively 2% decrease is actually highly insignificant, but it's still half a loaf is always better than none. So we still appreciate it going forward.
Very well. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on Newsroom, Doc. And you just heard us speak to Dr. Shafiq Suleiman, who is a lecturer at the Institute of Oil and Gas Studies at the University of Cape Coast. Now, in alleviating post-flood suffering in the most vulnerable areas of the East Gonja municipalities, selected victims have undergone intensive entrepreneurial training to enhance their livelihood resilience, both in trading and agriculture. Now, following the training, the World Vision Ghana provided the affected victims with an assortment of items and cash as startup support for the year. The story brings you more.
In 2023, over 4,500 residents living along the White Volta Lake in northern Ghana were severely impacted by flooding caused by the spillage of the Bagri and Bui dams. Their homes were submerged and their livelihood activities were disrupted. The communities, particularly in East Gonja, suffered an estimated impact of over 1 million Ghana cedis. The affected residents, who were already vulnerable, faced long-term challenges, including the risk of hunger. To address this, World Vision Ghana took assertive action by initiating entrepreneurial skills training for 50 women's groups in 18 communities. The training focused on detergent production and included cashback and startup inputs. In an interview with GHOne News in Salaga, the regional operations manager of World Vision Ghana, Francis Guma, highlighted the organization's assertive support, stating that $150,000 was used to build resilience and provide assistance to 1,800 women and 900 girls who were identified as the most vulnerable.
The people who are here are the most vulnerable we are working with. We have 1,800 women who are most vulnerable who have been identified, provided with skill sets. For most of them, especially the women, they have been trained on savings for transformation, and the savings for transformation allows them to realize additional income to be able to better their lives. They have also been trained on how to produce other soaps in ensuring that they are able to sell these soap to better the lives of the various households that they find themselves. Again, we are providing them with cash transfers, and the cash transfers are supposed to allow them to be able to purchase whatever they want in the open market.
Some affected beneficiaries spoke to GHOne News after receiving the relief items.
Nti ama se juma ubeyansa na unsabe ko wanu na ubetumi dia hwakwala no eno so ayedin amaye nti where vision for no bae no omo de nsa no adwuma e wo mo ahudu eno mo de breye especially liquid soap no yebetumi de bibi kakra bi na amaye bebre enti samehwa ebetumi amaye mfaso
o etimi so pa makwechire makorvens pa ena me budget amiye ni nyina akwechire na nka my leaders one efom no World Vision omu komodie mu ye kasa ye omu se ye maya kuma toyeyem omu se emwa kakra na omu se ombeboa ye a yeso ya kuma betoyeyem no ommeboa ye ena yeso ye hese se bi echeye emimu dwi se emmam enokre ena nyame adom ende The
NADMO coordinator for the East Gonja municipality, Al Hassan Suraj, emphasized that the organization has commenced the sensitization of residents living along the riverbank in anticipation of the dam spillage. Additionally, World Vision Ghana delivered 300 bags of fertilizer and crop seedlings to the severely affected beneficiaries.
And that's it for business here on Newsroom. We'll take a short break and return with some more stories for you. You're welcome back to the Bulletin. It's time for sports. Monica Bukari is in the studio with the details. Monica, What's in sports?
Good afternoon, Lantam. Well, the Phobians have embraced a new chapter by unveiling a 3-story building as their headquarters. I've got details on this, plus many others making headlines as far as the Olympics is concerned, so do stay tuned. Now, Accra Hearts of Folk unveiled a 3-story building commercial complex on Tuesday, signaling their commitment to enhancing global competitiveness. The board of directors, led by majority stakeholder Togbe Apede, the 14, along with board members Vincent Soa Odote and Akwesi Ajaman, CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority, inspected and took possession of the facility. Togbe Afede, the 14, addressing recent poor performances, including relegation battles in the past 2 seasons, assured fans of upcoming improvements. Let's take a lesson.
Solid group of players who are working at it. We want to assure our fans that management is committed, board is committed to assembling the best squad possible. It takes time because a lot of constraints are beyond your control. You may want a player who is not available, but as much as we can find those who are available, we will bring them into the family to ensure that infrastructure-wise we are solid, management-wise we are solid, in terms of players also we are solid. And we continue to build our technical team. We're happy that we are building strength across all the sectors of football. So we are not only looking at the main team, but of course Auras is getting attention. Royal Oaks, our juvenile side, getting attention. And of course the Oaks, our female side, is receiving and will continue to receive a lot of attention.
Well, that's it for Newsroom here on GHOne Television. We're grateful for your time. For more news, you can scan the QR code and also log on to starfm.com.gh. My name is Lantam Papanko. Have a good day.